Tonight, on Most Shocking, they're breaking the rules and racing toward ruin. But there's no escape when they're busted by the badge. First up, a crazed gunman forces police into a life-or-death firefight.
Get on the ground!
Then,
Get on the ground!
an outlaw steals a cop's weapon,
Pull out my taser!
forcing officers to snatch his freedom. And later, Hollywood hotties are hitting the clubs. But when these girls take shots at the paparazzi, they get a close-up of the law. Bye-bye. This is not a movie. Everything you're about to see is real. Brace yourself. This is Most Shocking. Busted by the Badge.
Huntsville, Alabama. Inside this house is a dangerous man that just threatened his family with a gun. Now, over 20 officers surround the home. The kind of odds only a madman would risk. The suspect's making a break for it, charging across a field. It's an all-or-nothing escape.
Step out of the vehicle.
But then, his ride bogs down in the dirt. That's when police spot a rifle, and all hell breaks loose. Dozens of cops open fire on the lone gunman. But the massive truck absorbs every shot. The perp tries to get away, only his rolling fortress gets stuck in the mud. It's his last stand, so he takes aim and fires. A round strikes a deputy. Other lawmen jump into action to find out the extent of the injury. And it's the perfect distraction. Right in front of a squadron of cops, the escape artist slips out the passenger side door. Stunned cameramen spot him seconds later, unarmed and defiantly strolling across the field. Units race to intercept him.
Hey, he's over there, y'all!
This time there's no fight. Just a bizarre twist to the terrifying ordeal. He's stripped naked moments before capture. It's as senseless as the rest of his rampage. Fortunately, the brutal shootout ended without any loss of life. And no matter what he tried, the trigger-happy loser couldn't escape the boys in blue. Columbus, Ohio. Run from the law in this town, and you get nowhere fast. The man in the minivan just robbed a store at gunpoint. So the lead officer executes a precision pit. The policeman blocks the driver's door. But the punk still thinks he can get away. He bolts on foot. But against these cops, escape is not an option. After taking down the suspect, a patrolman holds him until backup arrives. His desperate flight is done. Authorities find a pistol and a thick wad of stolen cash. Now he'll go for a little spin in the back of a squad car. Cincinnati, Ohio.
Dude, where is he?
He's back there on that back street.
Wearing a miniature head cam, Officer Mandy Kerfis tracks down a man who's been disturbing the peace.
Right now, he's drunk.
Thanks to the camera, we're right there with her as she spots the troublemaker.
What's going on, sir? Come here. Come here.
At that moment, I realize he's a no person. He's not going to comply with me.
Come here.
The man bolts,
1426. He's running South Black.
and Officer Kerfis is right behind him.
Gym shoes.
When he doesn't follow orders,
Get on the ground. Get on the ground.
No, I ain't getting no room.
Get on the ground now.
it's time for the taser.
Get on the ground.
But state-of-the-art tech can only do so much.
His jacket was way too thick. He had a bubble coat on. I knew my taser would not take effect. It would not penetrate.
Then the belligerent drunk turns on her and goes for the stun gun.
The individual grabbed my right arm. He then yanked the taser from my hand.
An arriving officer confronts the brute.
You got my taser.
I have no doubt in my mind he believed he had my actual gun and was attempting to use it on us.
Only the cops have bigger firepower.
Drop it. Drop it.
Fortunately, they won't have to use it, as a quick tackle eliminates the threat.
That camera shows everything up close and personal. You see him taking my taser. You see him fighting me. The suspect was charged with 2 counts of assault on a police officer.
Okay. Yeah.
The dope tried to pull a real shocker on the police. But it was no match for old-fashioned muscle power. Cops are in hot pursuit of a man who just robbed a drive-thru. And a 911 call from the restaurant confirms their worst fears.
Did he have a weapon?
The thief will do anything to get away from police. But when he takes a turn too fast, he does himself in. The crook slams into a pole with lethal force. But even though the crash seems devastating, authorities aren't taking any chances. With the man still inside the car, they converge, guns drawn.
Get out of the car now.
Incredibly, the renegade emerges. He crawls out of the wreckage, and officers have him pinned and cuffed in no time. Luckily, the only injuries he caused are some minor scrapes to himself. Now he'll be licking his wounds in a holding cell. Cops were prepared to do anything to stop this hellraiser. Turns out all they had to do was give him enough rope to hang himself.
Coming up, a lowlife on the run pulls a piece on the law. And an angry punk
Get on the ground. You hear me?
gets the jump on an officer. Plus, police give a Schruber the ultimate buzzkill. Buckle up for more Most Shocking. Busted by the Badge.
Houma, Louisiana. Sergeant Daniel Belanger knows it won't be a routine night when he pulls over a suspected drug dealer.
Get on the ground. You hear me?
But he can't prepare for what happens next.
Get down.
Belanger trips. And the goon unleashes a savage beatdown.
He was swinging as soon as he got within arm's reach of me. He had never stopped punching. He never took a break.
Now the fallen patrolman must use his last defense.
Drew my weapon, and I discharged 2 rounds.
Incredibly, the bullets don't seem to faze the thug as he scrambles back into the car and takes off. The battered cop is completely out of breath.
Back it up! Two shots at the guy! He's in the red car! Come on! You just turn right on Houston Street!
Thankfully tonight, the bad guy doesn't get away. Backup units stop the hood just a few blocks over.
He jumped the heck out of me. You alright? Yeah.
Now the bruiser may face charges for the assault. Because when he attacked one lawman, he took on the entire force.
He jumped the heck out of me.
You know how sometimes you look out the window on a sunny day and there's a guy tripping on shrooms being pursued by police?
Running from the cops. Look at this.
Neighbor boy is flying high as a kite. And even though police bring him down to earth, he won't let them harsh his buzz.
Yo, I gotta go home, baby. I'm gonna play Florida! He's gonna hurt me!
The Mushroom Man is fixated on the Sunshine State. But he better cancel his travel plans.
This guy is good. What a big start.
Officers definitely have their hands full. Getting high didn't get him anywhere.
Running from the cops. Look at this.
Except a freaky trip to the police station. Portland, Oregon. Sirens interrupt a news crew.
Somebody's running out there.
Oh, shoot it.
Across the river, a dangerous carjacker flees from police. The camera stays focused on the suspect as a police canine tracks him down. The fugitive scrambles over the rocks, then takes a chance the dog can't swim. But in this current, neither can he. The surging river stops his desperate escape cold. Finally, as authorities close in, he climbs out of the water. With video rolling, it looks like game over for the madman. Then, he reaches for his gun in a lethal last resort. The desperado gets as far as his holster before the officer with a taser unleashes the juice. At last, the cops have their man. Now for completely going off the deep end, he'll spend the next year and a half up the river. Wilder, Kentucky. A town that should be called Wilder. Police believe the man driving the Mustang has been robbing parked cars. So they move in to question him. But this culprit isn't going to stick around. One detective grabs hold of his sleeve, but the thief speeds off anyway, dragging him for 20 feet. The officer is okay, but now the chase is on. The fugitive almost loses it on rain-slick streets. And when the perp detours onto rougher terrain, cops seize their chance to bump him off for good. He's nearly pinned, but the squirrely goon guns it and peels away. Too bad for him, these lawmen don't give up. But he's as slippery as he is reckless. The crook barely misses a head-on with a school bus, then weaves through traffic. Finally, he runs out of luck. Cops tackle the renegade before he can escape on foot. But this time, there's no chance of getting away.
Copy, I'll just meet him back in my station. I'm 10-4.
The suspect, Joseph Huffman, had just been released from prison. Now he has a whole host of new charges against him. And his wild chase through Wilder puts him right back where he belongs. In the slammer.
Still to come,
Looks like he's headed back westbound.
they can run, but they can't hide. An officer on a traffic stop takes on a vicious brawler. Plus, drunken scrappers learn that when you break the law, you pay the price. Then, a colossal squirt gunfight gets nasty as a chunky flunky fights with the cops. The action's getting more intense. On Most Shocking, Busted by the Badge.
Exland, Wisconsin. A bank robber floors it in a backwoods getaway. Local police are close behind. But he's got a lethal plan
He's got a gun! He's got a gun!
to send them running.
He's pointing the gun at me, guys. Pointing the gun at me. Shots fired! Shots fired! He's hitting my truck!
He may think blasting the cop's engine will disable the cruiser,
Truck's been hit. Truck's been hit. 2 shots fired.
but he can't shake the fuzz. And that's when the criminal becomes even more frantic.
Passing on the right-hand side. He's passing on the right-hand side.
As more units close in,
Careful, guys. He's got a gun.
the cornered man takes a turn, ditches his car, and opens fire again. This time, the suspect isn't aiming for engines. He's gunning for police. Officers are left with no choice. He pays the ultimate price. It's a tragedy he brought on himself. Because when this fugitive pulled the trigger on deputies,
Shots fired! Shots fired! He's hitting my truck!
he reached a dead end. College Park, Maryland. Mix late night partying with fired up college kids, and you know what comes next. A student in gray has been taunting a kid in green all night. Now their friends struggle to keep the two punks apart before it really gets ugly. But they can't keep these two morons apart. Mean Green lobs a blow right at his enemy's head. Gray Shirt retaliates. Then suddenly, it's 2-on-1. A third bruiser showers him with punches, then throws him to the ground. Now everyone's kicking the boozer when he's down. But before the undergrad comes home in a body bag, the boys in blue shut this party down. Within seconds, officers settle the drunken dust-up. None of the scrappers will escape the long arm of the law tonight. The college kids proved they had no class. But that didn't stop the cops from schooling them. Middletown, Ohio. A patrolman stops a driver accused of fleeing the scene of an accident. But the man's about to show he'll stop at nothing to get away. When the belligerent oaf doesn't cooperate, Officer Jason Deaton pulls his taser. But the gun fails him just when he needs it most. The weapon misfires. Enraged, the driver slugs Deaton with a fist to the face. Then manhandles the officer to the ground. It's a dire struggle. But in the nick of time, backup arrives. And his taser works like a charm. The suspect is later charged with felony assault on an officer. One electric shot couldn't tame this wild man. But the jolt of jail time will. This mini-mart has a very special guest today. It's the worst shoplifter in the world. Hint. When it's the middle of summer and everyone else in the store is wearing short sleeves, your long winter coat won't fool anyone. Least of all, the cameras. Mr. Subtle here actually thinks he's going to get away with this. Newsflash, Slick. The clerk's already called security. When the crook tries to leave, he's busted. Of course, he denies everything. But the snacks in his coat don't lie. The mastermind is going to jail. He tried to get a 5-finger discount. And now he's hoping for a deal from a judge.
Still to come, we're turning up the heat. And when Hollywood hotties pop the paparazzi, they get a pair of shiny new bracelets. Plus, a tubby tough guy thinks he can take on police. So much for thinking. Then,
Get on the ground.
a know-it-all refuses to comply with a cop
Get on the ground.
and gets a stunning response. Don't go anywhere. There's more. Most shocking. Busted by the badge.
London is in the middle of a war. A squirt gun war. With over 1,500 teens in one park, the seemingly harmless event is spiraling out of control. So cops move in to take over. But not everyone wants to clear out. This doofus with the mullet harasses the police. And he's acting like he's about to attack. Now this water fight is a real fight. Chunk Norris will be going downtown for disturbing the peace. The battle was good, clean fun until this washout got himself in hot water. Livonia, Michigan. Criminals may not be that bright, but at least this dope's got a spark. Police suspect he's running from an outstanding warrant. And he's doing it on a rim and a prayer. His sidewalk detour fails to shake the heat. So naturally, he steps on the gas. The fleeing fugitive charges toward an intersection, hoping cops won't follow. Instead, it's game over. The thug tries to squeeze between two cars. But his crippled pickup can't make it. He spins out in a cloud of smoke and is quickly surrounded. His truck demolished, the half-shirt half-wit surrenders. Maybe he thought cops would just give up. But with only 3 good wheels and 0 smarts, this moron was doomed to disappoint. Madison, Florida. Deputy David Myers just received a call. The van in front of him was stolen. The lady at the wheel isn't exactly a hardened criminal, but she is full of excuses.
Get out of the damn car.
Even with the laser sight of a taser fixed on her,
Put your hands behind your back.
she just won't listen.
Put your hands behind your
The deputy pulls the trigger. Whoops, one prong doesn't connect. So the shock has the sting of a flea bite.
Get on the ground.
Still, Miss Oblivious isn't getting the message.
Get on the ground. Come on. Get on the ground.
Until... the barb makes contact, and 50,000 volts hit home. Surprise, surprise, she's a bit more cooperative now. But just a bit.
You know I been driving. You know I ain't been doing nothing wrong.
It's a good lesson for cops everywhere. If at first you don't succeed, try and try again.
Don't look away now. The offenders are cracking under the pressure. An officer pulls over a slippery dopehead and gets the runaround. Plus, a terrifying armed robbery turns into a bone-jarring getaway. Just try to keep up. On Most Shocking. Busted by the Badge.
Warwick, Georgia. An officer's pulled over a driver for having his windows tinted too dark. But that's just the beginning of this perp's problems. That's still not the worst of it. It's pat-down time, and that exposes the biggest transgression yet. A bag of drugs sends the oaf into a panic mode. He tears free from the officer and his shirt. Round and round he goes before diving into the passenger side. Now his troubles are in overdrive. The fugitive spots a backup unit ahead and pulls a quick detour. But this man's running on adrenaline, not brain power. So his getaway hits a monster snag. He crashes while trying to ditch his car. Officers move in before the perp can add to his growing list of offenses.
Get on the ground! Get down!
He thought he could run circles around the cops. But ultimately, his escape got him nowhere. Albuquerque, New Mexico. Residents are shocked as special agents storm their quiet cul-de-sac.
Albuquerque police!
Turns out, their neighbor is actually an armed robbery suspect. And as police take him down, he shows bystanders how truly crazy the boy next door can be. The derelict kicks out the cruiser's window. But there's a method acting to his madness.
Hey, I'm mentally insane.
He decides to lay the groundwork for an insanity plea.
This is like the best road. Let's eat some grass.
Yes, he did just swallow broken glass. It's a foolish stunt that only scores the crook one more wound. Instead of establishing an alibi, he merely earns a pit stop at the hospital before heading to jail.
Hey, I'm mentally insane.
Midwest City, Oklahoma. What was a slow night for this officer is about to get a lot faster. The cop attempts to stop a vehicle going over the speed limit. But driving with a suspended license, the woman behind the wheel proves she'll go to extremes to get away. She cuts in front of another driver, slamming across his bumper. But that's just a fender bender compared to what happens next. She loses control and blasts into a utility pole. Even with all the damage, police take no chances. Authorities pop the window and discover the woman seriously injured. Paramedics quickly arrive on the scene. After a trip to the hospital, Mindy Chappelle will face 8 years in prison. It goes to show no matter how fast you run, you always end up on a collision course with justice.
Up next, Hollywood foxes are dressed to kill. And when a glam girlie turns the VIP entrance into a fight club, officers crash the party. That's straight ahead on Most Shocking, Busted by the Badge.
Get on the ground!
If going for the money means brutally cashing out and trying to escape gets you dropped like a filthy habit, it's time to mend your ways before you end up on your face. But these punks don't just push their luck. They crank it into overdrive until they run headlong into the blue line and get busted by the Badge.